Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Welcome everyone to Berkeley SkyDeck Europe's Batch 19 application info session. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. My name is George Panagiotokopoulos. I'm Berkeley SkyDeck's Head of Europe and Global Expansion, and I'm joined by my colleague Andrea Genzoni. And together we're going to go over a presentation of what to expect from our program. We're going to talk about its contents, about a little bit about the application process, a little bit about the candidates, but mostly it's going to be high level, so we could turn it over to you in the end so we can go over some Q&A, because we want to be able to answer your most pertinent questions. Andrea, you want to say a quick hello?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm very excited to be here with you. I've been working in Cariplo Factory and in SkyDeck Europe in particular since 2022. So I'm very excited. This is our sixth batch is going to happen. And in Cariplo Factory and in SkyDeck Europe in particular, I'm working mainly on portfolio management. And so again, nice to meet you all.
Great. All right. So Berkeley SkyDeck Europe Milano. Let me tell you about it. SkyDeck Europe is a joint effort. It was created by Berkeley SkyDeck, Lendlease, and Cariplo Factory with the goal of being Milan and eventually Europe's top startup accelerator. It's located at the Milano Innovation District, which we'll tell you a little bit more about. And let's talk a little bit about the founders of this program, starting off with Berkeley SkyDeck. So SkyDeck is UC Berkeley's global accelerator, meaning we do not only work with startups that are affiliated with the university, we work with startups from anywhere in the world. We were launched in 2012, and in 2017, we collaborated with a private fund that then started investing in our program. We've been doing a lot. We are collaborating with the university that is developing an aerospace innovation park at Moffett Field, so we can build and develop and operate a aerospace accelerator there in the next few years. And we collaborate also with different government organizations, academic institutions, and corporations from all over the world, all in the name of helping identify and develop talent that can lead future unicorns. Andrea, Cariplo Factory.
Yes, Cariplo Factory is a catalyst for innovation, and it operates at the intersection between the corporate world and the startups. Since 2017, we have supported over 50 corporations and more than 300 startups, mainly from Southern Europe, through more than 40 open innovation initiative and acceleration programs. Cariplo Factory was established in 2017 by Fondazione Cariplo. Fondazione Cariplo is one of the largest and one of the leading bank foundation in Italy and Europe. And we as Cariplo Factory are a benefit company and one of the leading innovation hub for corporate innovation and acceleration programs in Italy. We have helped and supported hundreds of startups during these years in collaboration with some of the most important national and international corporations, such as maybe this name are familiar with some of you. Terna, ENI, Enel, Snam, and many others. For sure, we have also a very strong network, including international VCs on a European level, mainly, and business angel networks. Yeah, that's about Cariplo Factory.
Great. Could you tell us a little bit about Lendlease?
Yeah, let me tell you this. Lendlease is the third very important stakeholders of SkyDeck Europe program, and is a prominent international real estate group founded in Australia, and is one of the most important players in the real estate global market. As you can see, globally, they manage about asset for about $40 billion. And in particular, Lendlease is currently developing Milan Innovation District in Milan. This is a site on the previous Expo 2015 site, and Milan Innovation District is set to become one of the largest innovation hub in Europe. Let's consider that the site, the area is about 1.1 million square kilometers. Sorry, 1.1 square kilometers. And yeah, this district is very important because will host, but is hosting currently accelerators, startups, the most important Italian corporation, but also foundation, research centers, and universities. And all these players are collaborating on innovation initiatives. And this is very important because also SkyDeck Europe, SkyDeck Europe home is in this area.
Great, thank you for that. Let's talk about a little bit more about the details of the program and about last batch's applications. So let's talk some numbers. Total applications for batch 18 came to just over 2,000. Batch 17 applications came to just under 2,300. And SkyDeck Europe applications specifically came out to 742. Typically, we look to accept approximately 10 startups. Batch 18 happened to be 9 startups. It might go up to 12 startups or 13. It might stay at 9 or 8. We don't try to hit a specific number. We just try and find the most talented and best startups. Our acceptance rate is low, and it's because we're a very value-driven organization. Again, we don't consider ourselves a startup factory. We're not trying to get in as many founders as possible and shoot them out the other end. It's about how can we help them? Are their goals aligned with what we hope that they are, and can we help them? We offer access to a ton of advisors and a ton of mentors that I'll talk a little bit more about later, and a lot of benefits. With our resource partners, we offer over $750,000 in cloud computing credits and legal services, finance and accounting software, data analytics and SaaS platforms, and much, much more. And the total funding that's been raised by SkyDeck startups from all of our programs is over 1.8 billion. So hopefully we're gonna increase that, and hopefully you're gonna be a part of it too. So where do our applicants come from? Pretty much all over the world. We don't look for them to be from any specific place. Doesn't matter where you're from. This program is for founders that want to land and or expand and fundraise in Europe. So whether you're from the US or Latin America or Europe or any other part of the world, as long as you're interested in landing and fundraising in Europe, this program is for you. Batch 19 applications are open. I think we're gonna considerably exceed what we got last over the previous batches, but that's good. Program's growing. We're excited about that. So
yeah,
program,
let me
Andrea,
me add just an important element on the previous topic. So we are a very international acceleration program, likely one of the most international in Europe, and this is also reflected in our portfolio. Looking at our portfolio, right now we have about 50 startups from the 50 previous batches, and we have 50% of our portfolio companies from Europe, and 50% are from outside Europe. in countries such as Ukraine, Armenia, US, Mexico, Argentina, etc., etc. So just to give you the idea that we are an European program in the sense that, as George was saying, we are really interested in selecting founders eager to expand or enter into the European market, because here we have the network, we have the investor network and the corporate network, and so we can support you to our best.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrea. Yes, and by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat as well. We're also going to have a Q&A session at the end. But I did just get a question. Does this mean that a startup from India can apply? Yes, absolutely. Any startup from anywhere in the world can and is encouraged to apply. Moving on to the structure of the program. So generally speaking, at a high level, the program is between 5 and 6 months long. It is expected that founders attend the program in person for the first, at least for the first 4 weeks at Berkeley, at SkyDeck in Berkeley, followed by a 3-month remote part of the program, and then they're expected to be in person for approximately the last 3 weeks of the program in Milan, in Italy. This is a high-level kind of estimation of the timeline. Demo day has not been set yet. The in-person time could be 2 weeks. The in-person time could be 4 weeks, or somewhere in between. We need to evaluate, availability of venues, the travel expectations that we want to set. But the point of the program is to make it as accessible and practical as possible. So we're going to work with our founders to make sure that it is. Andrea, did you want to add to that?
Yeah. During the 3 months of the remote program, in the middle of the program, this is a news from the current batch. We are setting 1 week of in-presence activities, which is called the fundraising week, during which we meet all the founders of the batch in Milan, in mind, to work together on the fundraising hat. So it's a very intense week during which we organize one-to-one meetings with international VCs. We set up a few workshops with some of our advisors, but specifically on the fundraising topics. And also we organize some fireside chat with VCs and successful founders who has raised in the past some important VC rounds, such as Series A or B. Only 1 week, but we decided to add an in-presence moment, because we love to see and work with you and with the startups we select for our batches, and this was also let's say an advice from the previous batches, from the previous cohorts, and so yeah.
Great, absolutely. And I just got a question. Can you apply to both programs? Yes, it's one application. And within that application, you tick a box that you, depending on which program you want to apply to. You could tick the box that you want to apply to the US program, or that you want to apply to the Europe program, or there's another box that says both. If you're uncertain, if you're not sure exactly which program or which location is best for you because you haven't reached that stage yet, you still apply, tick both, and we can help you figure it out. Yes? All right, great. Any other questions? Not yet. All right.
Would you mind touching on the second part of his question there? As whether they're separate teams evaluating them when you apply to the programs or not?
No, they're only both teams review the both applicants. And the US team evaluates the US applicants, and the Europe team evaluates the Europe applicants, and both teams evaluate both applicants.
Thanks.
Yeah, great. Great. Moving on. So who are you? Who are we looking for? So this is always a very, very tricky part of this conversation because it depends. It depends on a lot of factors. We don't have too many rigid criteria, but here's some of them at a high level. So preferably, you're looking for some customer traction. You could be ideally you have some sort of product or technology, even if it's in beta stage. You don't have to have paid pilots. You don't have to have LOIs. You could be very early, all the way up to a startup that has paid pilots, that has MRR or ARR, or has a lot of customer traction. You have something innovative and interesting, obviously. And you could have raised nothing, or you could have raised up to $1 or $2 million from grants or VCs or what have you. That said, I want it to be very clear. We have accepted startups that were basically in idea stage, and we regularly actually accept founders that have raised 2, 3, 4, 5 million. Okay. There's no hard criteria that this is not for you. If in doubt, I encourage you to apply. It's a very simple application process. And if we think that you might be a good fit, we'll invite you for an interview and we'll talk about it. So again, there is no rigid, specific criteria that we're looking for. We're just looking for the best candidates and the best startups. And that's because it differs. It depends. If you're in biotech, you might be a researcher. You may not have found the right team or the right co-founder, because you've been studying or working on your research for a long time, or perhaps you're a far younger company. You have a lot more traction. It's an enterprise SaaS startup, and you've been able to get a lot more in. If in doubt, apply, and we'll figure it out. Moving on to the investment terms, Andrea.
Yeah, so SkyDeck Europe Fund invests 145k euros on each of the selected startups through a safe agreement for about 6% of the company, based on a 2.4 million pre-money cap. The safe agreement is very standard. It is a very quick agreement with no significant or heavy rights attached. As you can read in the bottom of the slide, if you have recently raised at a higher valuation, we are open to discussion. You can also be able to be selected for the program. So don't you worry. Even if you have an higher valuation, we can sit and discuss about it.
Great. I got a question in the chat. If you apply to SkyDeck Europe, does it mean it's for startups that are focused on the Europe market rather than global or US market? So ideally, you will become a unicorn. Global domination is the goal. So we want you to be in all markets. But given that you're earlier stage, seed-ish stage, you have to have a beachhead market and a focus on geography. So if that focus is going to be initially the US, then it's more focused on the US ecosystem before you expand elsewhere. If it's going to be focused, if it's going to be for SkyDeck Europe, then it's going to be more focused on the Europe market before you expand to other markets. So again, the goal is that you expand beyond your current market and obviously beyond your current geography and obviously penetrate other geographies, but this is where you want to start or continue. Great. All right, moving on. Why should you apply? Because we have a great track record of excellence, because we offer unparalleled training on thinking globally and launching your company. I always like to say that our program is more practical than educational. If we're, if we have a workshop on marketing, it's not the fundamentals of marketing in a case study. It's like, here are the 3 or 4 things you need to be doing right now, immediately. Let's talk about them, and then let's see how we're going to implement them into what you're doing. It's meant to give you everything you need and nothing you don't. You're going to join an ecosystem of technological innovation at Mind, and you're going to be part of a huge network of international corporations and advisors and resources. We've really brought everything from the university side and from our corporate and resource partner side to your forefront, so you could leverage them as very impactful and important tools for you to achieve what you need to throughout the course of the 5 or 6 months of the program. And a little bit more about those resources.
Yeah, George,
network.
sorry, just to add
Andrea, yes.
why you should apply. So it's true that we are a generalist program, generalist acceleration program, but it's also true, and I would like to stress this point, that we try to understand what are the key strengths and also weaknesses of each project, and we try to support you with a very customized support through all the things that George mentioned. So through our corporate network, through our university and research network, through our local partners in the Mind area, and in a while we are going also to tell you something about them, and also on the fundraising side. So we try to support each startup for their specific needs, because you probably work in you are building a startup in a very specific sector, and so it's quite difficult to standardize also the contents of an acceleration program. So we try to be supportive on the specific needs of each of you.
Great, thank you, Andrea. A little bit more about our resources. Access to our network. Access to networking events that we host, access to our advisor meet and greets, where we pair you with advisors so you can go over their experience, and so they can understand your experience and your background and see if there's a good fit. We host investor advisor pitch practice sessions, where you spend 20 minutes to 30 minutes with an investor or an advisor that could talk to you about your pitch, how it landed with them, what they thought, how it might be more impactful. And then you could schedule additional ones on your own, should you like. And our network of advisors and mentors, it should say, we work really hard to ensure they are of the highest caliber. We actually don't accept the majority that apply to our network. There are certain criteria that we look for. We're not going to go into it right now, but the goal is to make sure that they are the best to help guide you throughout this process and afterwards, because you will continue to have access to our network of advisors and mentors throughout not just your entire journey at SkyDeck, but throughout your entire journey as a founder. You'll always be able to go back and access those resources. We focus on customer development, leveraging our ecosystem at Berkeley and Garipla Factory and Lend-Lease to try and ensure that we're connecting you with the best people and organizations to help you succeed. And talent. We try to offer you access to top-tier talent. We have 42,000 students at the university. That's just at Berkeley, and tens of thousands more at our partner institutions. And we actually offer over 800 internships. We get over 2,000 applications and eventually match over 800 interns with our founders every batch. And a little bit more about access to R&D and university resources, Andrea.
Yeah, SkyDeck Europe can, as I mentioned before, can leverage on a very robust research network that can help our startups in several activities, such as looking for and hiring interns, conducing market and scientific researches, and also accessing some specific labs. So you are going to receive support not only from Berkeley University Network, but also from the Mind Anchors, which are in particular Human Technopole, which is one of the most important Italian institute for life sciences. And it has over 1,000 of researchers from all over the world. Istituto Galeazzi, which is the second slide, and is a leading center for healthcare and research. Then we have University of Milan, Istituto Italiano di Tecnologia, which is another important research center in Italy, and in general, not only University of Milan, but also we have the support of other 6 from the most important Italy's universities, which are Polytechnic of Milan, Ulm, and others. And these universities are going to bring specific expertise, aiding in technological assessment and development, but also in facilitating the connection with their corporate and investor network. And this is a boost also for our program in general.
Great. I just answered a question here in the chat. Basically, what is the investment to equity? What's the investment for selected startups? And the investment is 145,000 euros in exchange for 6% equity for all founders, for all startups that are selected to join the program.
Yeah, it's a safe agreement. So basically, we are not going to take 6% of the company right now, but in a future point at certain conditions. So these conditions are included in our agreement, and basically are liquidity events or the realization of an investment round with professional investors, so VC funds, in particular VC funds. Yeah.
Great. Moving on, some success stories. Rather than go over each specific company, the purpose of this is to illustrate that they are from everywhere. Crisp is from Armenia, MindsDB from the United Kingdom. We have founders from the US. Yes, Lime was a SkyDeck startup. Startups from Latin America, Asia. We have founders from everywhere in the world, and several success stories for each continent. Now, moving on to some frequently asked questions. Do you need a UC Berkeley affiliation to join the program? No, you do not. You do not have to be a previous staff, faculty, student, researcher, or current alumni to join the program. Clear? We get that question all the time. And I know I'm going to get it a little bit later as well. No worries. You do not need to be affiliated with the university. By joining the program, you then become affiliated. Do we help with transitioning to, well, your travel to the US or travel to Europe? We offer support in the form of a letter of support if you need to apply for a visa. We do not sponsor visas, and we offer some resources. Here's some platforms to search for a place to stay, or we can make recommendations on areas to stay, and we can have calls about that. But we do not offer accommodation. or any sort of travel services. What stage startups will SkyDeck Europe Milano work with? Again, typically the program is for startups looking to raise seed or Series A investments in Europe. Again, we've had founders join that were in idea stage and they were actually still in the friends and family sourcing of funds. We've had much later stage startups. So if in doubt, apply and we can talk about it. What industries are we looking at? We're industry agnostic because we, again, just look for the best startups and the most talented founders. And because we have the resources to work with any industry, we are industry agnostic. What is the best program for fundraising, Berkeley or Milano? Again, this depends on where you want to be. If you want to enter the US market, apply to the US program. If you want to enter the Europe market, apply to the Europe program. If this is, your initial market, obviously, as mentioned before, from the question in the chat, we would like you to go global and expand to all geographies eventually. And how do you choose between Berkeley or Milano? It's kind of a lot of overlap with the first program. Depends on where you want to land and where you want to fundraise. But if you're not sure, you could simply tick the box that says apply to both programs, and it will help you figure it out if that time comes. And finally, applications. They are open between July 16 and August 23rd. The program term is November 4th through April. The exact date in April is still to be determined. And demo day will be in April. For the Europe program, the demo day will be in Italy, in Milan. And for the US program, it will be in Berkeley, in the US. That said, let's open it up to Q&A. It was very high level of what our program does. Let's make this a little bit more of a conversation. Starting with any questions, I think I answered all the ones from the chat.
I've got a question I'll throw out.
Yes.
So yeah,
Go ahead.
Marcel here from HAP. We're building a tourism marketplace focused on in-trip activities of what people do during their trips. We've got the fun challenge. We're live in market in 4 countries, all Europe, all South Europe. So Italy, Spain, France, Portugal. However, we are a consumer marketplace. And from our local Canadian VC ecosystem, we know that there's very strong associations with business types. So for example, consumer marketplaces almost exclusively do not get funded here in Canada. And so our target for VCs is exclusively American and US VCs. At the same time, for our go-to-market, it's all Europe. So we literally have this VC targeting, within US and partnerships and everything like that targeting within Europe. So I'm just curious if the European market overall, or kind of the Italian-centric market, has these biases towards different business types, or so in terms of consumer marketplace, is that something where we ought to favor one of the programs or the other, if that question makes sense?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That it makes sense. It's very hard for me to tell you because I'd love to understand, and we're not going to do it now. We could offline about it. I'd love to understand, more of the details of exactly what you're working on and how and why and where and what your goals are before I start saying, oh yeah, totally, go here, go there. But that's one of those cases where, I would definitely tick both in both programs. And that could definitely be in, one of your comments, selecting both, trying to understand, where the greater chances for traction would be or for fundraising would be, and we'll help you figure that out. There are some biases here, and well, I wouldn't say biases. I would say just inclinations, but not something that I would say is. And again, I'm generalizing here. Oh no, absolutely stay away from Europe or the US if you're in this specific field. It depends. Different opportunities and different challenges. in each region. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. I try to answer questions as directly as I can, but that was also very, I'd have to know a lot more about your specific company.
No, I super appreciate that. It's helpful regardless.
Great.
Thanks.
Great. Yes, next question. All right, so I've gotten a couple of notes. So what we're going to do is we're going to end the recording, and then we're going to stay on so we could answer some questions because some people feel a little bit more comfortable with that. So that said, please stay online. But thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for your interest in SkyDeck Europe. We look forward to your applications. It's our favorite time of year. We just get to go over these incredible ideas. If in doubt, please feel free to send us an email, but definitely apply. Thank you very much for joining. Look forward to seeing your application.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.